listening to Frank Skinner's podcast from Absolute Radio.
And this is Frank Skinner. And today I'm with Alan Cochrane as ever, but Zoe Lyons has joined the team.
Hi.
I used to have a jingle that roared. I don't have that anymore.
I'll do it. Hang on.
Go on. I like that.
Good. Thank you.
That's pretty good. It was a bit frothy. Imagine a bit of froth come up at the back of the lion's throat.
Just as a bit of a...
Back of the lion's throat. That's where I used to go for a smoke. It's a lovely pub, the Lion's Throat. You can follow the show on Twitter at Frank on the Radio, or email the show via the Absolute Radio website. But I tell you what I don't want you to do. Don't text us today, because we are pre-recording this in, if you can imagine the two juxtaposed times. We are yesterday. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of people say that about me in reviews. But we are yesterday, you're today. And so our communication is thwarted. I think we could be tweeted, but we don't know if we can pull that off. That's my knuckles, by the way.
That's
That's not going to make for nice radio for some people that don't like that.
I've never done that before.
No,
We won't be doing that again. They're going to...
I think I'll probably just put two air bubbles in my bloodstream. They're a race into Aneurysm City.
You think?
But we'll see. We'll keep you posted on that one as the show progresses.
I'm worried that it's starting with a city.
Well, Aneurysm City.
A small dwelling. And
I
then
like to think in my
village.
body there will be a cathedral. Thus, it qualifies. Now, this show, I think, has been condemned in the past for being slapdash and amateurish.
Has it?
It certainly has by the producer. And I learnt a valuable lesson this week. I was listening to a documentary on Radio 4. Do you listen to Radio 4 much?
Yes, I listen to Radio 4.
Radio 4, it's like podcasts for your nan.
Yes.
Is what the tone is generally. Yeah. Anyway, they were on there, and there was a man, I think he was in Hampton Court Palace or somewhere like that, the Bodleian Library, that's where they hang out. And he said things like, what do you, Zoe Lyons, think about this? And bringing in the name. And I'm thinking I might start incorporating that. It had a real sort of professional feel to it.
I think that's a radio rule, so that the external
Do you think
listener...
that, Alan Cochrane?
That's right, Frank Skinner, I do.
See?
Yeah.
Now people are thinking,
We know what we're listening to.
if there's people at home drawing a plan...
Yeah.
You know, like in the Radio Times, they used to have football pitches broken down into numbers. Do you know this?
Yes.
And when the man was commentating on the radio, a man in the background would go, 7. So you knew what part of the pitch.
This, of course, is where the phrase back to square one comes from.
You are joking.
No, that's where it began.
But how can it be? Because square one, I think, is the right back position where you wouldn't normally take a goal kick from.
I'm totally
Say
lost
back
now.
to square one.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry about this. Don't play the I'm a girl so I don't understand football stereotype,
No,
Zoe
we're not having
Lyons.
Listen, Frank Skinner and Alan Cochrane, we're going to have to move on from this.
We're not having that.
Otherwise, I'm not going to understand anything that's going on this
That
morning.
is the last football reference in this show. What about that as a declaration?
We're going back to square one.
1.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I tell you what, I hosted a gig this week, like a big charity thing.
You
I
did
mean,
some
we're all comedians together on this show.
Sure.
And I tell you what, now Alan Cochrane is our motoring correspondent. Are you into cars at all, Zoe?
I do like a car.
Here's a
I
question.
like cars.
Here
okay.
is a question. When I introduced the bill, and it was a great bill, so I wasn't exaggerating, I said it's the Rolls-Royce of comedy bills.
Right.
Reasonable sort of thing you were banded about.
Yeah.
And then it struck me, is Rolls-Royce still the Rolls-Royce of cars?
That is a good question.
You
You
don't
didn't think
see
this
many
aloud
of them.
during the gig, did you?
Well, I did. It went badly, but yeah, I did mull it over. Never mull things generally.
Were you the Morris Minor of hosts that evening?
I think
screen.
I probably was. Yeah, I was the stock in reverse gear, Morris Minor. I think I was a bottle green G registration Hillman Imp.
Oh.
But here's the thing: if it's Lamborghini or something now, it must be a sickener if you're at Rolls-Royce and you're no longer the Rolls-Royce of cars. How awful!
I think they still scrape through though, because Rolls-Royce they're still a big name. They're still expensive. They make aeroplane
Look,
engines.
I'm still a big
don't
name,
they?
but you have to
True
accept
enough.
when you've been overtaken. Overtaken. I'm keeping up the motoring analogies.
Very good.
I mean, if only people were, if we were live, we could get people who really know a lot about cars to tell us what are the Rolls-Royce of cars.
Well,
They
they've
could do-
been taken over by the Bentley as far as popularity is concerned amongst the higher-earning football players.
Is that right?
Yes,
That
but
is
just
right.
visually, just an observation you'll see.
Yeah.
And the Rolls-Royces that you do see on the road these days are the extremely expensive versions, maybe the Ghost, something like that, and they're probably more owned by Arab families coming over to the UK. But what do
with
I
the
know?
curtains on the back windows.
Curtains and a box of tissues, which always confuses me.
You see, I don't
Starting
feel.
to feel my role as motoring correspondent is slightly threatened
Oh,
here.
I know. I'm loving it.
So what
Who says
Rolls-Royce
Top
have
Gear
failed
has to be all
do-
men?
They've failed to move into the SUV market where Bentley really has, and Bentley and Jaguar have also done that, and they've kept abreast.
I just think if I'd have said it's the Bentley of comedy bills, people might have thought it was a reference to David Bentley, who I think was involved in the Let Him Have It murder trial. And then they think it was me trying to sort of share blame or something, and it would have got very confusing. That's how people's minds. I want to ask you another question. You host a lot, don't you, Al?
Compare.
Yeah, I don't know. Why have I said host? Have I become some sort of... Am I from across the pond? Am I from the States?
Next, you're going to ask me, do you work clean?
Yeah.
Do you work clean, Alan?
I think you could say that in England.
Yes, I MC a fair bit. Still MC at the Comedy Store.
So, do you compare?
Yeah,
Knocking about.
compare.
I have a big comparing question to ask you, but the fez is on the table, which on this show means that the producer is saying, shut up. So I'm going to... I'll come back to you after this.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Now, unfortunately, the way that you set up the desk is a bit of inside information for a pre-record. You can't see all your jingles, so I can't reach correzione, ole, ole. But you have a correzione, Zoe, is that right?
I think I've misnamed the Rolls-Royce. I think it's the Rolls-Royce Shadow, not Ghost. But it's very similar, isn't it? When you say
Shadow,
it?
Ghost?
I think it's a Shadow.
I mean,
Yeah.
the cars are similar, or the names?
The names are quite similar,
I
and
see,
in my
right,
head they're
yeah.
quite similar things.
What
but
about the
actually-
Camargue?
The Camargue.
Is it a Rolls-Royce Camargue?
I don't think so.
Isn't it?
There's a Phantom, which I think
Is
has
it
an
the
umbrella
Phantom?
built
If
into
that's
the...
what I've got
Enough
confused
now.
with.
Enough Rolls-Royce names.
Oh, okay.
It's making my shoulders sore because when I talk about the Rolls-Royce, I find my arms going backwards like the bonnet ornament. Yeah. So anyway, here's the thing. When you MC, let's call it that,
Yeah, compare.
do you shake hands of the acts when they come on stage?
I tend to.
Yes, or a little tap on the upper arm.
Tap on the upper.
Oh.
I see.
Yeah, a
I
little-
always worried that they might just have had their TB. And they're not going to thank you for that. You don't want to them them on with a yelp.
Well, a good compere always checks that the acts
Oh,
have just
yeah,
not
yeah.
come from a clinic.
When did you...
Yeah, I
Different story,
just don't like
usually.
to ask anymore.
Well, it's depending which clinic they've come from. You either shake hands or tap arms. So,
Exactly. Okay, well, I've become a handshake. I think I've picked that up from American hosts.
No.
I don't think I used to do
Surely
it in my
high
early
five
days.
or fist bump.
Well, they might do now, but in the I worked with a guy the guy who does Deal or No Deal. What's he called?
in this
Noel
country.
Edmonds.
No, in
Noel-
America.
Oh,
No, Noel Edmonds never did stand up. Sadly.
You work with Noel Edmonds. You have worked with them
No,
all.
take that back. I have worked with Noel Edmonds.
Of course you have.
But what's he called? Anyway, don't worry. He's an American comic who hosts the American Deal or No Deal, and he does one of those knuckle touches.
Ah,
But
yeah.
apparently he has hygiene obsession problems. So no, that's true. That is true.
Is it?
Yeah, but I find that when I shake hands with the comics as they come on stage, I adopt a facial expression which I would compare with the facial expression. You know, in films, when someone opens the door to a friend and they've got a gunman standing behind them.
Oh, yeah.
And they say, I'm sorry, I can't come out. You know. That's the kind of facial expression I give them. Like, behind me, there is something lethal,
Right.
i.e. the audience. And I don't know if I'm helping people with
passing
that.
on
right.
that fear.
No.
Yeah.
Do you say anything at that moment? I quite often say, have fun. I don't know why.
I do
that's-
that, yeah.
It's not really part of their job, is it?
No.
The comic.
I know. What do I say? I don't think I say anything.
Good luck out there.
No, I can't.
I've once
I'm
had that
too
experience.
upset.
There's a gunman behind me. Is that what you say?
If I'm coming off, it's usually I'm on the downward slide because if it continues to go well, it's like Enoch Powell said: every political career ends in failure, and I think that's probably true of every link. Certainly on this show.
Enoch Powell references on Absolute Radio.
I think he said some stuff that was okay.
Yeah. But it's just, if that becomes a trending topic, it could look bad.
No, yeah,
Not the
we'll be.
speech I remember.
We'll be tracking the bottom of the barrel in a minute for Enoch Powell quotes, but that one I believe is okay.
Yeah.
Oh man, who's next?
Skinner, Dean, and Cochrane. Together, The Frank Skinner Show.
Absolute Radio.
I'm talking about a gig I did on Monday. I hope that's okay with you guys.
It's good for me.
I'll tell you what I did, something I said I'd never do. I talked a bit about my child on
You did
stage.
stand-up?
Yeah. You know, I've always thought I don't like the... You know, you get
have.
people go on and on about their kids.
Yeah.
And I think, oh, shut your face. And you do it a bit, Al.
Not so much these days,
No.
but I used to do a bit
You've
more.
learned from
you know.
you've learned from me.
Still do sometimes. Yeah, I've learned a lot from you, Frank.
You've been admonished.
I've learned a lot from you, yeah.
And so I'll tell you what happened. I went to there was a sheepdog trials on Hampstead Heath.
What?
What's that?
Yeah, I know. Hampstead Heath is a large area of greenery in the north of London, known for midnight shenanigans, mainly, but this was in the daytime. And I was with Boz, my 5-year-old son, who's never seen sheepdogs in action before. And you know, they say you see things fresh through the eyes of a child. This is the theory.
Yeah.
Like I was with him once, and there was a robin hovering above us. I was weeding at the time, and he was after worms. And I said, "It's the old robin redbreast," I said, trying to sound like, is it naturalist?
Not sure.
Not naturist. And he said, "It's orange."
Yeah.
And I looked up, and it was orange. And I thought, who've been kidding ourselves?
They're normally
Yeah.
red, though, aren't
No,
they? Isn't it just a
no, I
rusty
think
one?
they're red because everyone calls them that. But look, if you
was an
look
orange.
through the eyes of a child, to a child, you will see that it's orange. Robin orange breast.
Just doesn't
Yeah.
scan so well.
No,
does
and
it?
it sounds
probably why they went
sounds
for
a bit too Protestant for my life.
Yeah.
We'll leave it there. But anyway, we were watching the sheepdog trials, and you know, are you aware of the technique that the sheepdogs use when they get really low on the floor? Their elbows are on the
Yeah.
floor. Do dogs have elbows?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, their elbows are actually going across the ground, and Boz absolutely cracked up laughing at it. It was like the funniest. He was every time they did it, he cracked up. And then I started cracking up, and I thought, it is. They don't need to do that. They're drama queens. They're just making it look, oh, I'm really stalking. They can see them. I mean, how high is the grass? They can still be seen. It's just, it's showboating.
Do they make them train under those nets, cargo nets that they do obstacle courts in?
Oh,
Maybe
that's a thought, maybe.
That's what they're doing. They're doing the whole
Oh,
crawling
you
along.
think
Yeah.
the dogs are doing the military fitness
They're doing the
thing?
military fitness.
Oh,
under
yeah,
the
because
cargo
they
net.
did go across on monkey bars
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
later, which I'd never seen.
Yeah.
No.
And then zip
before.
line in to round up the last of the.
But they didn't look like they got the wrist strength for
No.
monkey bars. Have they got wrists?
There's some mobility there, but I don't know whether you call it a wrist.
You wouldn't call. There's a fold. There's certainly a fold.
Yeah.
Oh, there was at the sheepdog trials. But it's never struck me before that it is absolutely hilarious, that sheepdog stalking.
And did you talk about this at your gig?
I did.
And did it
Again,
go
nothing.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I love it when you're like a proper DJ.
Yeah, it
Still
happens.
sounding great.
It happens now. Don't ever accuse me of being like a proper DJ.
Just did.
God, I listened to some of one of our local rivals the other morning.
Oh.
I don't know why they don't get rid of the DJs and have, say, a violinist. It's just sound. That's all it is. There's no actual substance. Why not have? And now, okay, now it's back to one. And then into Lady. I was listening to Radio London, which does have some conversation on it, and they were interviewing the popular entertainer Will Young.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
You know him?
Yeah, I got caught in a curtain near Will Young once. Coming off stage from something, I got trapped in a curtain like a fly.
Trapped in
a curtain like a fly. I'd just been on a television show with a disabled dog. It was a really, really appalling afternoon.
Is this a dream?
No, it really genuinely
happened?
happened. And then as I tried to exit the studio, I got caught, like properly wrapped up in this curtain at the back of the... And when I unwrapped myself, there was Will Young there with these two PR girls. I knew they were PR girls because they were on Blackberries and wearing pashminas inside. And they looked at me like with total disgust, as you would. I just caught myself.
Well, those sort of people don't get trapped in curtains.
They don't.
And have to unravel themselves in
Yeah.
front of other humans.
And that sort of
do
thing
they?
where you unwrap yourself and go, whoopsie, like a total idiot.
Perhaps they thought you were Jenny Murray from Women's Hour. She wears an enormous scarf. Maybe they thought
That's
that.
what it is. I've got caught in my own scarf. Yeah.
Oh, well,
He
this...
seemed lovely, though, in the
Does
30
he?
seconds I was in his company for.
I interviewed him once. I don't know if I came away with that feeling. I'll be straight with you.
Work
He
with
called
them
me pernickety.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if that's quite matching.
No. But anyway,
I'm sure the real matching word is not as nice as pernickety. I mean, you probably not like the real one.
and I was, I must admit, I was all for Gates. when the final vote, I was all for Gates. But anyway, he was on, and he's still working.
Mm-hmm.
God bless him. And he said, what
Withering.
did he mean by this? He said, I wish I'd bought. I won't do the voice. He said, I wish I'd bought my dogs with me. He said, I've got 2 dogs. I wish I'd bought them. Esme and said the names as if
Right.
that mattered. And he said, wish I'd bought the dogs with me. He said that they're in great form at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Right, their banter is flying.
What do you mean
They're a
by
right laugh
that?
just now.
In what way are they in great form?
Is that a polite way of saying they're on heat?
I wish I'd bought them with me. They're on heat at the moment. I could have caught some other dogs and added to my collection. No, I couldn't work it out.
No, I don't like that.
You've got a dog. Have
Yes,
you,
he's
so-
never been on great form. He's never on great form.
It's
He's
just
a
it's the
really
sort of thing you'd say about a
argumentative little-
comic or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
They're flying at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
On fire.
A pilot.
If you'd have said, I wish I'd brought my dogs in, they're on fire at the moment, I'd have thought he'd just got a text in from his housekeeper. And he'd have thought if I'd brought them in, they could have been rescued. But now
No.
they're part of some sort of canine inferno. Oh, dear. I mean, I'm not wishing that on them, don't
No.
get me wrong in any way. But it would have been a story and a half.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
On Bullseye, because the production team were obviously worried that the viewers didn't know what geography meant. When they had a geography section, Jim Bowen would call it places. Oh, my goodness.
I love Bullseye.
Yes.
Best show ever.
I went camping at the weekend.
You've had a right busy time, haven't you?
Oh, you know
Comparing,
me.
camping.
You
All
know
the
me.
Cs.
Yeah, all the C's. I did some careering.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Church,
slightly
probably.
out of control.
Probably a bit of church.
I did church.
Curly Cur. That's
Yeah.
another one. How
What's
was
it?
camping anyway?
Camping was, September camping is a risk.
Any
Big
camping
payoff,
in this
though.
country is a risk. Any
Yeah.
time of the year.
Can be a great payoff.
One thing that I'll tell you what I didn't do. We didn't use the guide ropes.
Oh.
I've got a pop-up tent. And no, I have, which at my age is a cause for celebration. No, I've got a pop-up tent. I say I've got one. We bought it 2 days before we went away. I brought it into the show actually last week. It comes in a big circular
Yeah.
bag.
Yeah.
It looks like, in W1A,
Yeah.
when the bloke carries a fold-up bicycle.
Yes.
So if I had one of those, but it was a penny farthing,
Yes.
it's like that.
Is
Wouldn't
it a
be cra-
family pop-up tent? Or is it a single
Well,
pop-up
that's a very
tent?
good question. It was described as a 3-man tent, which I thought was a bit sexist.
Was it?
Yeah, they still call it a 3-man tent, I think.
Three-person
Should be
temporary
3-person
construction.
now.
But I suppose they call it guide ropes rather than scout ropes.
True enough.
So,
it balances out. in the
Yeah,
camping
6 or
world.
1/2 dozen. But I thought, when there's 3 of us in it, why do we need guide ropes? That's on it, it's to hold it down, whereas we're going to weigh it down naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
Yes.
Turns out the whole guide rope thing is a tremendous scam.
I think the whole guide rope thing is for if you're ever out of it and wind gets up and perhaps blows
And we had
away
our
the tent.
luggage in it as well.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you
You're
won't
fine.
blow away,
Sounds
Frank,
massive.
but the sides of the tent will collapse in a strong wind and you'll be
Not in a
left...
pop-up.
Yes, the wind will. It'll still have a bit of mobility. You'll be waking up with the canvas like...
I know there wasn't room for 3 of us in the tent, you see.
They're very small, I think.
So I woke up with my face pressed against the outer wall, which encourages moisture.
Right.
So the whole side of my face was wet.
So you got your sleep and your morning wash combined.
I did.
It's like a life hack.
But of course I was camping. I just slept in my clothes and then just got up.
Job done.
I buckled my belt and I was ready for the day.
Brilliant.
I love that.
Oh, that's
I mean,
great.
I don't know how long you could keep that up before bacteria started to do
About a
damage.
week.
Speaking of bacteria,
Hippies manage it, don't they?
I'll tell you what, I don't know if that's true. We had toasted marshmallows.
Oh.
Again, I think of that as a bit American.
Oh.
But that, all these parents, I mean, they're all lovely people I went away with, but they're all quite, very careful about their children. They all eat healthily.
Mm-hmm.
But with the the marshmallow itself is a risk, as far as sugar and all that is concerned. I don't know really what they're made of.
Well, it's-
Mushroom, imagine
think you've just
they got a
said it.
mushroomy type texture.
They're mainly sugar, I think.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah.
But they put them on the end of sticks that we just got off the ground. So
Yeah.
if you could imagine a sort of bacteria soft centre,
Yeah.
that was how you eat them. So
Yeah.
in the end, the last bit of it is licking hot marshmallow off a dirty stick.
Yeah.
But I think that's good for us.
I think
We're
it
too clean
is.
these days.
We're
bit
definitely
of
too
dirt.
clean.
Bit of dirt.
You're right.
You've
we
got to
are.
lick a few
I mean,
sticks.
Yeah,
I'll be honest with
you
you.
are. Coming
You've
from
said-
you.
You've said several times. You've said several times. You've said several times you'd be happy if you never drank coffee again. I feel like that about eating marshmallows.
Well, I
taken me
think
over
mine
40
is a
years to-
grander statement.
They're disgusting, though, aren't they?
That's like saying if I never ate kumquats again, I wouldn't care. I mean, I hadn't seen a marshmallow for 17 months.
Don't see what the
I didn't
fuss
know
is
that
about,
I didn't know off the top of my head, but I checked my journal.
One of the perks of having one, isn't it?
Yeah, but it was also my mother-in-law went out and got us some air beds because we didn't have any air. And I was worried when we put the air beds in the tent, we had to overlap them because the 3 air beds were bigger than the floor
This
space.
sounds horrific.
And then they were self-inflating. So I undid this thing and I heard. And I'd say they went, if you can imagine watching a £5 note become a J cloth, that was the difference. That was the rise in it. I lay on the floor. I could feel the shadows of glaciation on the floor. I mean, it was just like lying on the floor. And I'd love to, there's something about camping that really appeals to me. But I think I need to just start again.
I hate it.
Year zero, do you?
I hate it. Everything about it.
We're going to come back to Zoe Lyons' hatred of camping. I'm putting her on the spot after this.
The Frank Skinner Show. Listen live every Saturday morning from 8 on Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. Don't text us. We're not live. When I say we, I mean me, Alan Cochrane and Zoe Lyons. Can you follow the show on Twitter, though? We don't mind that, at Frank on the Radio. And if you can email us via the Absolute Radio website. But if you text us, I shall be furious. Now then, before the news and all that, we were talking about camping. And you, Zoe Lyons...
Not a fan, Frank.
Why not?
It's just such a lot of faff. It really is. The last time we went camping, we went for 2 days. It took us about half a day to pack up the car full of stuff that we thought we'd need to have all of the luxuries of home when we were camping. And then you realise you already have all of the luxuries of home at home. You don't need to go and sit in a field somewhere.
Yeah, but how often do you wake up with a wet face at home?
Well, more frequently.
It's a good job we don't have in texting today.
More frequently than you might imagine. But I just find the whole...
I mean, I drool when I sleep.
Yes.
Oh,
That's
yes,
not-
yes, thank God.
Yeah,
That's part of the problem, isn't it?
Condensation.
Alan pulled it out of the fire.
Thank you.
Speaking of fire, though, don't you love a bonfire? See,
I
we
do
had
enjoy it,
we
yeah.
had a proper campfire.
I do enjoy a bonfire, but do you know what I hate about camping in this country is that you're never really properly camping. You're not that far away from other people, and the whole point of getting away into the wild is to remove yourself from other people, because let's face it, other people are horrific. Then when you go camping in this country, you're about 4 foot from other people who probably got a ghetto blaster going and a Staffordshire Bull Terrier barking into the night. And for me, that really isn't camping. If you are going to go camping, I say go for it completely. Leave the house with nothing but what you're standing up in, Swiss Army knife, and maybe just a lump of sugar just to keep you going for the first bit.
Kendall mint
And
cake.
then you've got to make your own bivouac out of whatever you find. That's what you've got to do. That's proper camping. Not being somewhere where there's a little shop 2 minutes away where you can get your milk. It
Do we need
doesn't do
to-
it for me.
Well, I've
Do
done
we
a
need to
lot.
broadcast a safety warning on this? Because we might have impressionable listeners.
We might have.
They think
Well,
Zoe's
I
given her
think
instructions.
Many of our listeners already live in tents, so they don't really know what the concept of camping is.
You see, I wouldn't mind that if you went out into the wilds and just sort of made your own shelter and that sort. Then it would be proper camping. But when you've got to take a fridge, a cooker, some chairs.
I think
The windbreak.
if you're completely in the wild, I think you'll find that you're dragged out of your tent in the early hours of the night by Hell's Angels.
Do you think?
That's why I prefer a site. Yes, I think that they go
Hell's
around
Angels
looking for tents in
Is that what they do?
isolation.
Then you've got to go further afield. Further afield.
That's even worse. Then I think you're talking about men in full-face balaclavas
So
and
if
torn off
I
shotguns.
can't do that, then I'd just rather be in a hotel. So that's why I'd say I'd rather
Well,
be in a
I
hotel.
mean, you're not entering into that. I would rather have a bonfire than Netflix,
Would you?
as far as something to watch. I can stare at a bonfire forever and see all the myths of the ancient world.
I think you can
Dancing in front
actually.
of your eyes.
I think you can actually watch some fire on Netflix.
You can.
Just put it on
yeah.
for like in your living room.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You've sort of got the flames and
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah,
none
you
of
don't have
the
to leave
smell
your
or
home
the
for it.
sort of
No, but I
charring
like that when
you're
you
breathing
wake
in.
up the next morning
Bad for you though.
and you can smell it on your clothes. It reminds me. Remember Britain pre-smoking ban?
Yeah.
I hate
It makes me
Britain
all
pre-smoking.
nostalgic for that.
Oh,
when
no.
when secondary smoking was one of the little dangers we all took on together. But it's no, I had to sleep though. With that, Kath, my partner, decided that the luggage had to go at the bottom of my section,
Right.
so I slept with my knees bent because the luggage was at the bottom.
See, that's horrific.
That
That's
was
awful.
That was. I'll tell
But
you what it
why
felt
didn't
like.
you buy a bigger tent, Frank? Why? I mean, when you've
Well,
got...
I thought I had bought a bigger tent. Remember, I'd never opened it till I got to the campsite.
Yeah.
You get something with a foyer and a second bedroom and perhaps a dining room.
Yeah,
That's what
we've
you
got
do.
People had that. One of our friends bought a gazebo with them.
Yeah.
a tent gazebo thing.
Yeah.
Big top. That's where I'd go.
Yeah.
Big top.
She has got a big top. I don't know. How did you guess that? That wasn't why she bought the gazebo. Although Although keeping them dry was tricky.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So, I'll tell you what it felt like when I had the luggage at the end of me, so I had to fold up. You know when they saw a lady in half?
Oh, yeah.
I think that's how they do it, isn't it? Doesn't she lie in there with her knees all folded up, and then there's another woman at the other end of the box, and that's
With a
how they-
wheelie bag at her head.
I hope
Not sure
I hope
about that.
hope the magic circle aren't going to bust
I
me.
think they
for
might
this.
be onto you for that.
Isn't that how they do it?
Something like that.
Actually, as we've got Zoe Lyons on, who is my political correctness correspondent,
Uh-oh.
is it still all right, this
I'm
sawing a
already
lady in
worried.
half?
Absolutely.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
That's
I
fine.
think it's fine. As long as
Yeah.
it's a clean blade.
Yeah.
You've got to change blades between sawing up a blade. You can't
Yeah.
share a blade, but absolutely
Yeah.
clean blades, it's absolutely fine.
Okay, well, that's
Yeah.
good. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you see them get the saw out of like
Yeah.
a pre-sealed,
Then
sterilised
it's
pack,
absolutely fine. It's
Yeah,
classic
I'm
job
hoping
sharing.
they'll wipe it out. You know that bit they wipe your arm with before you
Oh,
get a
right, yeah,
needle?
yeah.
I'm hoping there's a bit of that goes on.
yeah, I'm sure.
So what else? We haven't really spoke to Zoe yet. How are you?
Except for a
I'm really
rants about camping.
Oh, angry rants
Well,
about
well, we didn't
camping.
speak to her. She spoke at us.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm good. I'm really good, Frank. Yeah, I'm enjoying life at the moment. I'm doing, and I like to do things I haven't tried before, and I
This is
I've spoken about
breakfast
this-
radio.
Yeah,
remember?
yeah. I think I've spoken about this before on the show about wanting to learn how to ride a motorbike, and I've never really got round to it. And
Maybe you have.
yes, because I know Alan has shared some of his motorbiking literature with
Have
me.
you got a you licensed motorcyclist?
Yeah.
So what
Fully.
I decided to do was I decided not to have my test, but I went to see if I liked it because I've always had an idea in my head that I would one day have a motorbike and that I would really enjoy it. And it's a middle-aged thing, I suppose. In my mind, I picture Steve McQueen on that beautiful bike jumping over those
Can I
gates.
ask you a
Second World War.
question?
Yes.
Do women have midlife crises,
Oh.
or is that a male thing?
Oh no, totally.
Because I always think men who buy big motorbikes when they're like, I don't know,
Yeah.
40. I don't know how old you are exactly, but
Older than 40.
okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I brought it up.
Yeah, I'm very much in that midlife crisis zone. Yeah.
They are inclined to buy big motorbikes
Yeah.
at that age to sort of re-grab their youth.
Yeah. Yeah. For us, I think it's sort of smaller motorbikes but larger KitchenAids.
Oh,
Yeah,
Right.
that's where we go.
that's
Nice.
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went and had a little new to motorbiking course.
So what's that? Is that what it's called?
It's
the
called
new to
the new to
motorbiking
motorbiking
course.
New to motorbiking course.
Okay.
So is it riding around in a car park on
That's
a little bike?
exactly what it is, Alan. For 2 hours in first gear, going the same direction. So
It was
wasn't.
all in first gear.
I never asked whether I should get out of first gear.
When
It
you
was only
said-
when I got off, I thought I should have asked him whether I should have popped it into second.
Can I
at
ask
any
you a
point.
question which may fool? Can you reverse on a motorbike? Is
No,
there a
only with your-
reverse gear?
Only with your tippy toes.
Well, it's funny you say is there a reverse gear. Those massive, like a
Honda-
huge Honda Goldwing or a Harley Davidson, because they're so big and heavy, some of those have a reverse gear for moving them, but you don't really ride backwards on a...
Do you know I was
On a motorcycle.
driving in the States once.
Oh, yeah.
I hate people who call it the States. I was in the States, across the pond, and just outside the Big Apple. No, it wasn't anywhere near there. I was driving, and there was some Hell's Angel types at a sort of cafe.
Obsessed with that.
I know, they're everywhere this morning. And I pulled in a car, and this guy had one of these enormous, wide motorbike things. And he stopped when I came in, and he said to me, "Have you ever tried cornering on one of these vehicles?" And I said, "No." And that was the end of the conversation. I don't know why he brought it up. I think I hadn't given him enough
Sounds
circle.
like he thought you hadn't given him enough turning space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so
I mean,
touchy, the
Yeah.
angel.
You are
Particularly when
lucky
it comes
to be
to
telling
three-point
this
parking.
story.
Yeah, I know he
was.
was a big man as well, bearded.
Who knew
Yeah.
that was
And
the
if I
Hell's
remember rightly, he had jeans on.
Yeah.
ruffian?
Yeah, exactly. But
That's
yeah.
what Zoe wants to be.
Yeah, that's what I want
You
to
want
be.
to be one of those guys.
So-
So
the
I,
reality
I
was-
wondered if it had a reverse. They don't really.
I think they're very big ones because they weigh so much they need a reverse. But most motorcycles do not have a reverse gear or need it because you can just get off and wheel it.
Okay.
Even if it is a bit heavy, you can just, it's what they call manual handling when they're teaching you Time to do the manual handling, Zoe.
I wasn't very good at that.
We're going to come back to Zoe's manual handling anecdote
That's a tease.
after this.
Frank Skinner.
On Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
What else?
What else have I done this week? I've been having a clear out of my house. I don't like junk. I really do not like junk. I think I want to get down to that point of absolute minimalism where I just have one spoon and a plate.
Zen.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. I mean, obviously,
Yes.
I'll be start naked, which won't
Great
be
until a
appropriate.
visitor turns
Yeah,
up.
you just have to sort of carefully position your spoon and plate to decide where that's going.
Yeah.
What gets covered, what doesn't get covered. So we've been going through our drawers, and I've been chucking out. You know, do you always have that one drawer full of electrical stuff that you just discard? You know, you get a new phone, so you chuck the old one in there, and then the chargers and the bits and bobs and the USB things and other dangly bits.
I've got those, those wires that have got a thing, I think they used to call it a transformer. It's got one of those in the middle of it, like a block of plastic.
Oh, yeah.
block.
Yeah.
I never know what they're from.
Who they're for.
But
what
I'd be
they're
so
from.
gutted if I found the thing that it belonged to and then I remembered throwing it away.
No, yeah. Well, I spent a day plugging things into other things to see what fitted. It was very exciting. And then I took some stuff to one of those shops. You know, they go, we buy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever been in one of those places?
Is it like we buy any cars?
We
Like
buy
that.
anything.
We buy any stuff.
Do you mean like a cash converter?
Like a sort of cash converter
All right,
type
that sort of
place.
thing.
that buys
I don't know
sort of
what this
electrical
means.
stuff.
Can you explain it to me?
So you go with
I
your
live in
stuff.
a sort of ivory tower.
Yeah.
So
What
for
is a cash
commoners like me,
converter
well, for a
place?
commoner like me, what you do is you
Sounds
go
like
through
the
your
Bureau
drawers.
de Change.
Yes, but you don't get a very good exchange rate. But it
No.
is quite fun, and you do learn a lot. But you do need a couple of hand wipes when you come out. Don't touch the surfaces. I took my stuff, like old phones, like really, really old phones, like properly old phones. I got some money for them though.
They might have been
Brilliant.
worth a bomb or two, you know.
They weren't old enough to be of historical or antique value.
Right.
But it wasn't
What you
Alexander
want
Graham
is-
Bell's first phone.
What you
It
want
was-
is the ones that like the sort of films when they're making an 80s film, they want like
I've got one of those. Have you ever seen the ones that open and there's a keyboard and a screen inside it? So
Yes.
it's like a laptop
Yes,
phone.
yeah.
I've still got one of those. I don't think I'd part with it because, for nostalgic reasons, it's the first phone I used to dump someone by text. And I think you've got to keep a few,
gotta keep that.
emotional
priceless.
value.
life's first.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, I managed to flog some stuff. I got some proper
Loaded.
cash in my hand. It was
Loaded.
Like,
I've
I felt really alive. I felt like a sort of barra boy, like a market stall holder or something. I was like, yeah, cash, yeah, dirty cash in my pockets. Brilliant. I'm going to do it with more stuff. Probably not even my stuff. I'm probably going to branch out into other people's stuff. Just start selling other people's
I
stuff.
think that
No,
happens in
that's-
those
yeah,
shops.
Is that
I think
I think that does happen in that. I was getting that feeling from people around me. I was like,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that your stuff or somebody else's stuff? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know this shop existed, but I've got loads of stuff.
I'll come round for it. I'll empty your drawers for it. I'm quite happy doing it now. I'm very good. I've got a good eye now for what charger fits what receptacle.
But say I took in an old radio that worked. What are we talking? $5 or something?
Quid.
a radio.
A quid for a radio.
Well,
Probably a
it's
quid.
non-digital. I think you'd be lucky
Transistor radio.
A
I think you'd be
wireless.
looking at maximum a quid.
I mean, is it
Yeah.
worth?
It's not even worth
It's
the
going to cost me
journey,
that
is
in
it?
petrol.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll come round in my van. I'll take what you've got, mate. And yeah, any old
That's
iron.
why you really need loads of stuff. You need
See,
like
what
a
I-
quid for the radio and then like 99 other items.
What I do is I give the things to the charity shop so it helps people who are less well off than me.
Not
It's
Zoe.
a different technique to yours. But you know, we've all got our own little priorities.
The Frank Skinner Show on Absolute Radio. Back Saturday morning from 8. Tune in live for the full Frank experience.
Absolute Radio.
We've got a bit of fashion news this week, actually, Frank.
God.
It seems
If
strange
if Emily
hearing it in my
Dean is
voice.
sitting on her sick bed listening to this.
Yes. You know the model Poppy Delevingne? Of course you do.
I love Poppy.
Yeah.
No, I just got a text from Thomas de Quincey. I was reading out loud. I think that's the first Thomas de Quincey joke that's ever been made on Absolute Radio, and I'm glad I was here when it happened.
I think that there's only you that would have been here when that happened. It's always going to be you.
I was going to go Samuel Taylor Coleridge, but I thought it was too populist.
Right. Well, she was at a fashion show.
Well,
and,
quelle surprise.
indeed. And she inadvertently showed the world that she'd been FaceTiming her husband. You know when someone's holding their phone and they think it's holding inwards towards them so people can't see it? She was holding it outwards and the people could see that she was FaceTiming her husband who had no top on. He was bare-chested.
But can I ask you a question about this?
Sure.
See, when I saw that, I wondered if it wasn't a case of... I'll tell you a story. I was once in
Love a Max Bygraves.
I was once in a small cafe in Italy, and there was a woman sitting at a table on a phone, and she was clearly talking to her significant other and describing what the meal was, talking about what the view was. And she was sort of having a romantic meal with someone who wasn't there. And if she'd have had FaceTime, which hadn't been invented then, I mean, it would have been even better. She showed him the meal and anything else. And I wonder if Poppy Delavine wasn't showing her husband the vista of the exciting do deliberately.
You're right. She might have just said to him, "Oh, I'm about to see this press pack. There's one photographer that I really hate, the one with the green jacket. Have a look at this."
Yeah.
And then she could have done, yeah.
And I mean, a man with his top off is not a controversial. I mean, if it had been me, they'd have just assumed she was watching Ben Kingsley and Gandhi. But was it in a bag or something? I think it was. I think it was. We could see him through gauze. I have a sense.
He was in a bag.
I think he was. Yeah, he was sitting next to John Lennon and Yoko Ono. No, was he through gauze? Was he coming through gauze?
I don't think so. I think she was...
Maybe she had him in the
chatting.
back leg of her leggings. You know those leggings you get with the gauze windows?
Oh, yeah.
I love those.
I mean, I do think it is indicative of how beautiful people live. You know, they're sort of otherworldly. He's an ex-model. Is he? I didn't know She's a
that.
model. And so obviously they can tolerate discussing. They can have FaceTime and she'd be like, "Oh, you're so beautiful with your shirt off." Whereas I think if I was to try and FaceTime my wife and I had my shirt off, she'd be like, "Could you put a shirt on in the hotel? I'm eating my dinner while we're FaceTiming." So I just think that it's...
Do you FaceTime much?
No.
No.
In fact, we don't even FaceTime because she'd be like, "Why are we looking at each other? Can't we do this by text?"
Nobody talks to each other like that, staring at each other's face.
It's really weird.
It is weird, isn't it? You don't just have a conversation just staring.
Maybe very
concentratedly
beautiful
at somebody.
people do, though.
But they're the only people that can use that facility, because I was on the train the other day and I turned on my phone and I was meant to turn the camera on, but then I turned on the selfie camera so it was looking back at me. And for the love of God.
Come on.
No,
Zoe,
it really
don't.
wasn't good. It
Don't,
really
Zoe.
wasn't good. It was an eye sag.
Had you just got your spoon and plate?
Oh, you've got to hold it up. I mean, if you hold it up
Yeah.
high, it's fine, because then at least all of the folds fall away from your face, and there is some remnants of being a human being. But down the way,
Zoe.
when you're face down, and you're just a surprise Shar-Pei puppy. That's what was looking back at me.
Well, it came too late for me, FaceTime. If that had come in my youth, when my moral compass used to spin like a sanding machine, I think I'd have used it for the worst possible reasons.
Oh, sure.
Oh, God, I wouldn't have been much face involved.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
And we were talking about Poppy Delavine and her FaceTime thing.
I have another theory. I think this is the most normal version of these events, is that they're chatting and the husband says, "Oh, you know that spot that I had on my shoulder? It popped. It's gross." And she went,
Show it.
"Let's do FaceTime and show me." And then that's why he's got his shirt off and they're chatting, rather than it just be like, yeah, I'm so beautiful and we're chatting with my shirt off.
Do people still do the spot sharing thing?
Yeah.
I stopped. I felt I couldn't trust my partner.
Right.
When you say, "Ow, no, stop," and they go, "No, it's coming out now, and it never is. I don't think they just can't stop
I
themselves.
think it's already gone 5 minutes ago, and they're just
coming out
squeezing for
now.
agony.
I do. I'm never. I've barely used FaceTime at all for anything.
No, never,
No,
nothing.
not really.
My father Skypes me every now and again, but what that means is I get a conversation with the top of his head.
Yeah.
Just a little tuft of hair
So you're
floating
short,
around.
man?
No, he just has no idea where the camera is and what he's looking at.
Oh,
So it's just
okay.
a little tuft of hair.
I
That's,
spend the whole thing looking at me in the corner
Yeah.
on
Right.
Skype. That's me in the corner.
Brings out your REM narcissism.
Yeah, it does though. But no, I don't like that much either.
No.
It's odd because I used to dream as a kid when I watched sci-fi films, Star Trek or stuff like that. When they contacted people, it always was like video communication. It looked great. It must make phoning in sick a more elaborate business, hadn't it? Because it's one thing doing the voice. What do you wear? One of those Crimean War head bandages. You have to look ill
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Mistake.
Presumably
But
people
do
don't
it. People do
in sick.
FaceTime on the bus and on the train
Oh.
and in public transport and all over the place. You just think, what are you doing that for? You don't need to do that.
What I don't understand is when people sit together, they all look at their phones. They never look at each other. When they're not with them, they want to look at each other suddenly. Am I starting to sound like one of those old geezers who says stuff like, and when people look on their phone, they don't even look at...
Yeah.
Yeah, but, it's all right. What about when my phone went off during a Catholic Mass and the ringtone I had was 3 lions? That was so... that was treble embarrassment.
That's why I've always got Gregorian chant on mine in case
Oh,
it
that's-
goes off anyway.
Yeah, but what if it goes off at England fan do that you're at? Then you'll
Can't
feel
win, can
pretty
you?
stupid. Yours is probably Z Lions. Fantastic work.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Just
question.
talking about Uber.
Oh,
I'll be trapped in the town centre.
don't. People will
How
complain.
shall ever I get home?
Night bus,
This,
Frank.
Oh, I
This
don't know.
Poppy Delavine
I
woman,
might have to buy a hoop and stick.
how's that going to help?
Just gives me some trajectory.
I don't really know her work, Poppy Delavine.
I'll
but
tell you something. I once did. There was some disaster in the third world. I can't put a name to it. It's been a long time ago. And I went up the BT Tower, and me and Poppy Delavine and a handful of other, let's call ourselves celebrities,
Yeah.
took donation phone calls. So we answered the
Oh, yeah,
phone
yeah.
and took people's. She is. She's in. I mean, in the flesh, she's a remarkable looking human being. She's in. She's a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
Fair play. I didn't really speak to her, but she had turned up for a charitable event.
Well,
so.
this is my point. I think she has to be a beautiful woman because that is such a pretty name, isn't it? Poppy
Poppy
Delavine.
Delavine,
It's even
yeah.
got a little bit. But imagine if her parents had called her that and then she'd been minging. Like, it would just be so unfair because it sounds like someone lovely has
Can we
come.
acknowledge that women can be minging now? Is that
I think
acceptable?
so.
I'm not sure.
What is this, Brave New World?
I think it's so. Well, it is. I don't know about brave. I'm frightened to death. I think you'll find all women are beautiful
They're
and all
not,
men
Frank.
are
I've seen-
vermin.
They're not. They're not. Some people are minging
Yeah.
and some people are gorgeous and some
If you
people
do,
are in the
if
middle.
you're right,
It's
Al. If
fine.
you
Well,
name
it's
a baby
all,
Poppy Delavine and it looks like a sort of melted pumpkin, then it's going to be, it's difficult to
Yeah.
pull that off, isn't it? You're like, ooh, hey.
Yeah.
They call
Let's
them
hope she's
pulpy.
got a-
Pulpy
Yeah,
Delavine.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, ploppy Delavine.
What I'm saying is, they threw for a bullseye and they got it. Like,
If she'd look like that, she wouldn't be so FaceTime crazy, would she?
But isn't the
Exactly.
whole family beautiful? Isn't it just like a
think
sort of
so.
pedigree Afghan hounds? Isn't that what they look like walking
think so.
around, sort of?
Well,
tailored?
I only know her and Cara. I mean, are there other sisters?
I think the whole family's like that.
Wouldn't it be unlikely that the
There's
mum
one.
and dad are a couple of what was the
Yeah,
word you
like
used?
if there's another,
Yeah.
if there's another sister called Old Bootface Delavine, like,
This can't be right, surely. Can we say this?
why are you so worried?
I'm,
You've said
I'm worried
much
that
worse,
we're
I'm
even
sure of it.
acknowledging their gender in this age of fluidity. I mean, when I was a young man, gender fluidity meant women who could catch.
I don't think you can say when you were a young man.
Can you not say that? When
No.
I was a young
No.
human being. I'm stretching it. But, yes, she seemed nice,
Oh, good.
tall,
Yeah.
Great.
and all the rest of it. And with
Is that a talent?
with tallness?
Tallness?
That's all I've got.
Is that a skill?
That's all I've got.
She had a
Trading on
grace
it.
about her as
She
well.
can
had
walk
grace
as
with
well.
her.
No,
Yeah.
but she had, you know,
Is that on your
she
CV? I'm tall and can walk.
looked. You couldn't. There wasn't a sense of the. Sometimes you get a joltiness from one foot going in front of the other, but she had more of a Camberwick Green glide.
Nice.
Yes, I'm not questioning her human essence. She seemed, one of those nice-looking people who you don't want to talk to.
You're listening to Frank Skinner's podcast from Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Zoe Lyons and Alan Cochrane. Don't text the show today because we're not live. I apologise, but, things to do. Follow the show on Twitter at Frank on the Radio, however, or email the show via the Absolute Radio website. I'm eating Toblerone. It's a biggie as well, one of those big, it's an
Massive
airport
bars.
what I'd call an airport Toblerone.
That's exactly what it is.
I once, in order to impress a woman I'd had a brief relationship with,
Yeah.
when I'm saying brief, I'm talking sort of relationship you could have 365 times a year. The next morning, when I got up first and I put the toast, I used as a toast rack a large Toblerone I'd brought back. And I said, just to suggest that that's how Shelby's people live. And it was slightly melted by the hot toast. It's all right.
Didn't spoil the toast. Chocolate.
No, it was all right. I mean, think pan au chocolat, why don't you?
I will.
Okay.
Yum.
I've never ate a pan au chocolat without at first holding it to my face to form a pig snout. There's certain foods that I have to do some.
Yes, yeah. I've seen you with bananas as a sleeve. And,
The withered hand banana.
hand, yeah,
the
yeah.
banana withered hand
I've
thing.
never seen that.
Oh.
Oh.
Haven't spent enough time with Frank.
And we'll leave it there, though, I think.
Yeah, true enough. Well, it wasn't just what's her name, Mrs. Delavine.
Poppy Delavine.
Poppy
God,
Delavine that
showbiz.
had the fashion faux pas. Yeah, how quickly we forget.
Yeah.
There was also a bit of a same dress nightmare situation that has swept the internet and
It
the
has
newspapers.
swept the internet.
It really
well,
has.
God knows it needed a good sweep. I scoured the internet recently and I come up shining.
Oh,
Bits of it need bleaching.
Yeah, they do.
So, yeah, some industrial cleaner needed. But yeah, they was it 8 women all dressed in the same dress coincidentally? Not
Was it
not as a plan.
coincident? No, I hate to say, but how
we
far?
go.
How far
Skin
now
of the skeptic.
through an internet sensation do you get? I bet this was set up.
Right.
8 women at the same wedding wore the same dress. Was it free on the front of a magazine?
Are you the person putting fake in the comments? It just says
fake news.
first, and then it says fake.
Fake news.
Well, having said that, we've turned up fairly similar today, Alan.
Yes,
we've,
we have
yeah.
stripy tops. And
Do you
Stripy
think
tops.
do you think Elton John has been thinking, is this the time to re-release Rocket Man now that the phrase is back in common parlance? Wouldn't that be a piece of cynicism?
Yes.
And as he says himself, Rocket Man, where's a bone chair instead of home?
Yeah, I'd forgotten that.
No, I did. It really. Would it be an acceptable scam if, let's say, 15 to 20 women went to a wedding in exactly the same dress as the bride?
Yeah.
Well,
How would the bride take that, I wonder?
that's a good point.
I don't know.
Probably not happily.
Yes.
They're not. It's only the bride that's meant to wear white, isn't it? It's really rude.
Is that right?
Is
Yeah.
it?
Well, what happened when Colonel Sanders' daughter got married? Imagine the meal at that.
Oh,
3-piece.
If you do know the answer to that, please email us it just for the future, because I'd love to know.
Well, he must have children, the Colonel.
He must. Why?
Yeah. He's because he's that sort of family man, isn't
Yeah.
do you think they do the wedding bucket? Is that
Oh,
that'd be a
that'd be
menu
good.
option? Wedding bucket.
yeah.
Wedding
Yeah.
bucket. That's when you
Wedding
know you're going
bucket.
to a classy marriage. isn't
Yeah.
it? When the food's in a bucket. The wedding
It's good, though, because if you do need to be sick, there's a bucket.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We're talking about a bunch of Australian women. 8 women, was it? 8 women
They
in
8
the
women?
same dress.
All right, yeah.
Oh, I didn't
8.
realise it was Australian women.
I think it was in
number.
Sydney, Australia.
Does that make it more or less believable
Well, if it
for
was,
you? You look like
yeah,
you-
no, that would make
let's
it more
change the
believable.
dynamic.
If they,
here.
of course, I didn't realise if from a small town, maybe there was just the
What,
one outlet.
Sydney?
Yeah.
Have you been to Australia?
Got
Just
it
a
from
little
the
bit.
shop.
Been to the shop, got the dress.
When they did, if they're all in the same dress, when they did the hokey cokey, if you're looking at it from the balcony, it must have looked like a big scrunchie,
Yeah.
steadily dilating scrunchie. Why did that sound rude? It's the word dilating, isn't it?
I think so.
Well, scrunchy's quite visual.
I'm surprised, I have to say, that the same dress nightmare thing doesn't happen more often.
Yeah.
I can't think of hardly any time I've ever been anywhere like where I've got a shirt on and someone else's.
Oh, really?
Well, West Brom games.
I've had this happen loads of times at black tie-dos.
Yes.
Yeah, West Brom games.
Do you
There
think
go.
anyone's ever bought a football replica shirt and thought, I'll wear this at the... I bet no one's ever thought of wearing these at the game. And then turned up and there's 5,000 of them.
My favourite is the guy that you see sometimes on Match of the Day in the stands with his over his coat. You know, the football shirt over the coat.
I've done that.
I find it very funny.
Do you know I went to La Scala in Milan, the opera house, with a West Brom shirt underneath her evening jacket?
Did you?
Pathetic.
What was that?
I don't know what I was trying to prove. I think I was king of the new lads at the
Oh,
time.
you were? Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that.
It's a weird thing, though, if you turn up and somebody's got the same item of clothing on you as you. I find I tend to like the item of clothing less.
Well, you would.
Yeah.
It's like when you order a
shouldn't
meal
you like
and
it
someone...
more? Shouldn't you like it more that you've been like somebody
Yeah.
who's also appreciated
It's been
what you've
validated.
appreciated?
Yeah.
But there's a bit where it goes, no, I don't want it now. Not that you've got it.
Do you want them to look worse in it or better?
Worse.
Okay.
Ooh.
Much worse.
See, these women all looked all right in it, I thought.
I
There was
didn't think
no...
any of them looked brilliant.
There's still going to be one.
You didn't think
that's-
any of them looked
No,
brilliant?
so
the best.
yeah, it was.
There's still got to be one that looks the best and one that looks the worst.
I suppose that is the
that's
nature
life.
of life, yeah.
So it's tough for that lady 8.
This must happen to goths all the time.
All the time. Yeah. Oh, you wore the long leather jacket. We should have texted each other. I was going to go with my multicoloured coat today.
But I am surprised that it doesn't happen more. Is there a sort of, you know, when you get like prints from, if an artist, say if Tracy Emin does a drawing, there'll be a
Oh,
limited edition.
Yeah.
Do they do that with dresses and stuff?
I think if you go haute couture, then
Yeah.
Then,
I'll
yeah.
try it. Haute couture. It's changed nothing
Yeah.
for me. I can't. I picked up the Toblerone and realised I can't
have
eat
it.
it.
You can't do
mid-
that.
No,
during
no.
the show.
Every time I pick up a Toblerone, I think of Leslie Garrett singing "Climb Every Mountain" in the stage version of Sound of Music.
Really?
What a voice she's got. Made me feel a bit poorly. Too loud. You know, some people are too loud. Yeah, so we think it was real then, do we?
We think it was real, and not only that, the Daily Mail article that I read quotes some guy who commented, Yang Vang his name is, he wrote, "My worst nightmare being dressed the same as someone else." And I read that and thought, what mild nightmares you have.
Yeah.
Like, mine are more like my teeth fall out and then turn into little creatures and start eating my feet. That sounds much worse than,
Wow.
like, oh, I've got the same jacket on as that guy.
What
That's
about
fine,
when
isn't it?
I drove? Remember the dream I told you about when I drove Judy Finnegan to an event, and she suddenly took out a revolver and shot Chancellor Helmut Kohl.
That
And
seems worse.
I felt like I was somehow party to it.
You're an assistant
I
to the
woke up
crime.
feeling, yeah, I felt like an accomplice. I never said let him have it. Oh, those are the days. Well, they weren't actually the days. They were things that didn't.
It was a dream. It was those were the nights.
Here's a question for you. What's the cut-off same clothes age for twins? I wish we had a text here. I know a set of triplets, 18 years of age, all of them, and they dress the same.
Out of choice?
Well, I think so.
Yeah.
No, they're in prison.
They're all nuns.
They're all one nun, like a pantomime nun.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I found a lovely thing to do with your spare change this week.
Oh, yes?
Yes, indeed. There's a father and son in Somerset who are they're reflooring the floor of their garage that they've just built in 2p copper coins in the most beautiful way possible. They've made it look very, very lovely indeed. They're taking 2p copper coins and sort of doing a sort of parquet flooring effect across their garage floor.
Heads or tails?
I don't think that's important. I think what's important...
Not
is
important?
No, I don't think it's important.
That's one of the biggest existential questions ever, isn't it?
Yeah. They must have made a decision for uniformity. You think they're just putting some heads and some tails?
That's not stipulated in the P. That wouldn't have bothered me actually when I was putting that down. I'm not that particular about my coin.
They'll
flooring.
probably have. What if they listen to this? They've already put down about 12,000 coins, and they think, that's a good idea. We should have gone.
Yeah, they're going to use.
Although they're not all the same, are they? Even
2p coins.
No, like some coins are different from others, even if they're the same denomination, aren't they?
Well, what they're doing is they're cleaning them using fizzy pop.
Oh yes.
So they're cleaning the
coins. Oh yes, we
It's
used
so
to
that-
do that. I remember with the old copper coins.
Yeah, so you can clean. So they're cleaning some of the coins and leaving the other ones tarnished, creating a beautiful parquet flooring
Oh, they're
effect.
leaving some
So
tarnish.
it's almost like stripes,
So you
like
get the
when there's
stripes.
been
Yeah.
a new groundsman attached to a football club.
Oh yes,
like
and they
that.
do that. Yeah,
33,000 coins they're going to use.
Mm-hmm.
doesn't fit in with the idea of Theresa May's austerity Britain.
I think
People
it
are
does.
using money to make floors.
But then it's only going to cost them about 600 quid to do the whole floor, which is that's
Yeah.
not bad, is it, for a floor?
I suppose it's more than
It's
the
in a
floor.
garage.
It's in a
suppose it's-
garage.
I just think of a garage floor costing nothing.
Yeah.
That's the.
But
yeah.
this will be a signature piece. It'll be
Oh,
it certainly will.
It'll be a
something to
talking
behold.
point.
Yeah. Yeah. How
Talking
would you?
point.
I don't know what face I'd pull if somebody went, "Come to my garage and look at my penny floor." I don't know where, like, surprise, interest, horror. What face would you pull? That sort of.
I'd be. Is it disrespectful to Her Majesty? And
To
what would be
walk on
more?
her.
What would be more disrespectful, walking on her face or her face down in the gluey
Well,
dust?
we lick the back of her head every time we send a postcard. So
Stamp, yeah. Good point.
No one's licked a stamp, I would say, for 15 years.
there's
Oh.
still some licky stamps, aren't there?
I
Yeah,
don't
we
think
still lick
so.
stamps.
You lick stamps? Come
Yeah.
on, they come on like a sticker sheet.
Even
now.
then, don't
Do they?
deny yourself
Yes.
the gluey pleasure.
Oh,
There's something quite nice about it. I used to love licking
Should I have been
envelopes until I
licking them?
realised they were made in prisons and people did stuff with the glue.
Is that? No, I don't
True,
believe
that's
that.
true.
stamps are made
No.
in prisons.
No, the envelopes.
I stopped licking them because they were made of Shire horses.
Oh, yeah,
Were
there's a bit
they?
of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what they make glue with. I
right.
think you'll
Get-
find.
Yeah,
You get
yeah.
a bit of fur in your teeth.
Well,
Don't
it's
want that.
nice. It's nice that
The floor.
the good thing about the story is that it's nice a father and son having a shared
Yes.
Interest.
activity.
I like it.
I mean,
a
I
lot.
don't know. I don't know if you've read Oedipus. It's not always a success. But I think you imagine a young man who don't want to be bothered with his dad anymore, But,
Yeah.
I like the idea of the two of them on their knees sticking
I hope
toplesses.
they don't take the 2p out of circulation before they finish the project. That would be
Well, that
be a
would be
blow.
better, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that give it a sort of a lovely nostalgic
Historical
thing?
value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
if it was old pennies, that would be a bigger deal, I would have thought.
Do you know what I do with my pennies? I collect them in a freezer bag, and then
Freezer bag?
Yeah, in a freezer bag because they're quite strong. And then I go down the supermarket, and they've got one of those machines that counts it. And,
Oh, yeah.
the sound it makes when it goes through is absolutely delicious. It's like, and it goes on for hours. And you go, this
tell
is
you what.
amazing! I've got so much money. And then your little ticket comes out. It's like £4.20. You're like, yeah, that was 8 years of saving.
It's a frugal side coming
so
out to you.
alive.
There is. It's selling
First she
your
was like the
older
motoring
folks.
correspondent. Now she's frugal. I feel like I've got no territory left on this show.
Frugal Sharky, I call her. Wow, so you're selling off your used items
Yeah.
and taking
And
your...
collecting my coppers.
I mean, what happened to the days when local celebrities would push a tower of pennies into a blanket in a public house, and that would be like, 37 and 6 for a local children's home?
What are you describing here?
That used to be a tradition.
Is this from a Dickens novel or something?
I've
What are you
seen it
talking
happen. You'd
about?
have a tower of pennies and they'd get a local celebrity and they'd push them over with one finger. And then that money would go to the go to charity. You don't know, not familiar with the Tower of Pennies?
I don't know what you're
Tower of
talking
Pennies?
about.
No.
Well, I mean,
What era was this?
it was my era. I bet it's still happening in some parts
It's
of the country.
not.
No,
Tower of
I'm
Pennies.
sure I've had requests to go and push over a Tower of Pennies.
Is that not a euphemism for something?
I don't think so. I hope not. I've said yes to the one in Stourport.
Skinner, Dean, and Cochrane. Together, The Frank Skinner Show.
Absolute Radio.
We have an ice bucket full of coins in the house.
Do you?
What are you planning to do with them?
I might follow Zoe's lead and take them to my local supermarket and tip them in and then start punching the air now.
They do take a commission.
Oh, what?
You've got to be prepared to take the hit.
No, I'm back out. I'll just count them out
What
and put them in bin
denomination?
bags.
What
and-
denomination have you got in your bucket?
It's mostly 2 pences and 1 pences, I think. I think sometimes the higher denomination coins get filtered out for, metered parking.
Would you go down for the brown in the street? It's a reasonable question. Now, would you pick up a Toms or a penny?
5p's my limit.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, I think I would, because I'd probably see it as some low-level cardio.
Yeah. You better stay out of that garage.
Yeah,
Unless you're
exactly.
taking a claw hammer.
It did occur to me, that garage. Do you think anybody's going to give their opinion and say, it's just my tuppence worth?
Oh.
Going to happen, innit? Somebody's going to
I'll
have
tell you
to.
what I didn't like. It said, one of my problems is when people say, I'm having that. I did a joke this week at the charity gig, and a man from the charity said, I'm stealing that joke when I blah, blah. And I just think, don't say that as if I'm all right with it.
No.
It said in this thing, it said in, I think, the Mail, it said, the dad came up with the idea after seeing a picture on Facebook.
Oh.
Did he come up with the idea after seeing a picture of what? A picture of a floor made of coins?
Yeah.
Did he come up with the idea, or did he steal the idea after seeing a picture on Facebook?
Pocketed it, didn't he?
What was the
Pocketed
picture on
idea.
Facebook? Maybe it was a picture of the Dalai Lama, and he thought, hey, what if I had tuppences all over my garage floor? That'd be all right. But I'm guessing it was a picture of coins forming a parquet effect. So he didn't come up with the idea. We cleared that up.
You're right. I don't think anybody disagrees with you.
Also, that Coca-Cola thing, we used to do that, put old pennies in Coca-Cola.
Yeah,
Or-
it cleans them up.
you can put a tooth in Coca-Cola and
Oh.
it disappears.
Yeah.
Wood's rot. Well, yeah, because I was thinking about this earlier. If you put coin in and it makes it all nice and shiny, surely there's a sort of optimum point of holding Coke in your mouth where it make your teeth nice and shiny, and then
Yeah.
you've just got to spit it out after that point.
I think if your teeth were made of the same material as copper coins, that is exactly
Like
how
the-
the science would work.
Like the Queen Mother.
Yeah.
I think hers were made of copper, if I remember,
And
from the
wood.
look of them.
Yeah.
We use brown sauce as well to shine up our brown coins.
Do you?
Yeah. Well, not anymore, but I used to as a child. So presumably if you held brown sauce in your mouth for, say, an hour and 40 minutes,
Yeah.
that'd bring your teeth up a bit.
Maybe watch
Yeah.
a long film.
Yeah.
Hour and 40.
I wouldn't call that. I'd call that
Just-
film time.
Yeah,
an hour
it's
and
about
40
right,
minutes.
isn't it?
Any more than 100 is...
Gargling with brown sauce. That's
Oh.
that'd be great,
Yeah.
wouldn't it, in a way?
yeah.
If there's any children listening, don't old brown sauce in your mouth for an hour and 40 minutes. Because
1 minute at a time.
I can't think of a reason. I just don't.
I bet there's parents going, do. That would be
No,
great. I'd love
there
the
won't
peace
be.
and quiet.
There won't be. Maybe Piccalilli.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you love Piccalilli. You're still having that even though you're on this regime.
I'll tell you what, on this recycling of coins and all that thing,
Yeah.
whatever happened to the ring pull belt? Do you remember that?
No.
No.
There was a
Oh.
time when young women started wearing ring pull belts made out of ring pulls. No?
Really?
You don't remember that either. Where
Not
have
that
I
or the
landed?
penny of the Tower of Pennies. This is all made up.
It is not made up. It's just from a different time.
Are you sure they're not all
Ring
from the
pull
same
belts.
dream with Judy Finnegan and...
Wouldn't you lacerate yourself
Helmut
to
Kohl.
pieces on a ring pull belt?
No, but it says over your jeans,
But just the ring pulley bit, not the sort of...
not the whole can.
No,
They're not leaving a wedding. No, it's a ring pull belt. It's quite fashionable. What I feel like, have you ever seen the show Adam Adamant about a Victorian gentleman who's frozen in a block of ice and then comes out in the 1960s and he's saying things like discotheque? What on earth? Feels a bit like that. I've never felt so alienated.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Here's a question. Is it legal to stick a load of 2p pieces to a garage floor?
I wouldn't see why it would be illegal.
Well, you're taking them out of circulation. I think that's the government's decision ultimately.
But I've got them in a freezer bag in my cupboard, so I've taken those out of circulation.
Whether
Yeah.
you should have said that on air is
Oh,
debatable.
no. Oh, I've just walked into that.
You know those police battering rams?
Yeah.
And
Well, listen out.
I've got thousands of £50 notes underneath my floorboards in my house that I just don't even use. I'm saving them up to make a papier-mâché helmet one day.
Oh, okay.
So is that legal? Is it true? No. Is it legal?
Is it not? I believe, seriously, it's illegal to burn money.
All right.
Have you heard this before?
I know that when I started on the comedy circuit, there was a magic act that used to burn someone's money. I think he burned a tenner a night and then gave the guy it back. And I once said to him, "What's the trick then? How are you doing that?" And he went, "No, I'm just burning a tenner a night." So every gig he's doing, he's losing a tenner.
Yeah.
Like,
Which in those days.
Yeah.
yeah.
My dad, when my
It's worth
dad,
about a tenner.
my dad used to work at Land Rover, and they used to get celebrity visitors come and look at the production line. And he had the heartthrob yodeler Frank Ifield came visiting. And he asked Ifield to sign a £1 note. And Frank Ifield said, my managers told me we're not allowed to do that. It's illegal.
But I will push over a tower of pennies
He
for
would
you.
have. I bet you Frank Ifield pushed over, say, £10,000 worth of towers of pennies in his long and varied career. I'll bet you. But yeah, so he said it's illegal. You can't sign it, and I think he said because it's signed by the governor of the Bank of England, you can't have a second signature on it. Seemed incredible financial knowledge from Frank Ifield of all people. I mean, I suppose he's on tour. He has things.
Not what he was known for.
Remember, there was no Google in those days.
No.
This is something he's read
book
from the
learning.
hard copy.
Book learning, yeah?
Yeah.
Good old-fashioned book learning.
Frank Skinner.
On Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
I once handed somebody in a post office a £5 note, and somebody defaced the £5 note. They'd written something rather rude on it,
Oh, dear.
and but I only noticed as I handed it over, and I felt like a child. I had to go to the woman. I didn't write that. I didn't write that.
Yeah.
And did she accept
At,
it?
she accepted it, but she gave me a very disparaging look. And I was like, I didn't write that about the Queen on there. I didn't.
Oh,
Somebody
dear.
else did. But
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah, I think Frank Ifield was a Republican. Maybe that's why he got the warning. Defamatory messages about the Queen on his. Is he still alive, Frank Ifield? I've turned round and asked the team.
I
have
think
an
you're the
average
only
age of
person-
about 22.
You're the only person in this room that's heard of Frank Ifield.
He's been replaced by the Ifield 10, hasn't he? Isn't that
He was a yodeler. There aren't that many pop yodelers. That's why I thought you might have heard of him.
Oh.
I'll remember you.
I like the fact
No?
you think I'm thinking of another pop yodeler.
Yeah.
I hate it when you get your yodelers mixed up.
Oh.
It's just so embarrassing.
Well, anyway, I'm starting with him next week.
Good.
He did a song called "She Taught Me to Yodel," which it's all about he meets a Swiss woman, and you can get one thing leads to another. He ends up yodeling.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Anyway, it's been a walk down memory lane in many ways. That is the show, though. Thanks for listening, Zoe. It's been absolutely lovely having you on, as it always is.
Always a pleasure, Frank.
You'll be next time I see you, you'll say, "Guess what? I got asked to push over a tower of pennies in a club in Brighton." Yes. So thanks very much. Sarah Champion is up next. Enjoy that and bring on the feathers.
You're listening to the Frank Skinner podcast from Absolute Radio. Want your Frank fix a little sooner? Listen live every Saturday from 8 a.m. on Absolute Radio. Across the UK on digital radio, mobile apps, and in London and the South East on 105.8 FM.
Absolute Radio.